Well, good afternoon and welcome to Scholars Spotlight. I've got a very, very special guest today from the management team. We've got Jamie Hawkins, who's our assistant manager. Welcome, Jamie.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, we did say we were going to get a beer in, so show us your beer.
Yeah, I've bottled it and gone coffee, mate, I'm afraid.
He's had a shocker. Okay, well, we've got a lot of questions. And what I wanted to start with is we haven't been away from Boldmere for too long, actually. I think it's actually been feels like 6 weeks, something like that. And it gave me a unique insight into the chirping that happens on the bench, right? So what I've done, I've gone through all the audio and I've gone through what all the assistant managers have called you throughout the season. So just a few names I just wanted to go through. Tiny feet was one. Armrest, shortcakes, tiny tot, hobbit, munchkin, Danny DeVito, titch, elf, and half pint were just a few. What size feet are you, Jamie?
I'm a very big 7, Reuben.
I'm also a 7, so I think that's an acceptable size of foot for a man. So I think all those nasty managers were out of line with what they called you. So that's a good starting point. We've just come off the back of a defeat, right? Away from home, tough game, and a tough league. And that's where I wanted to start. We've obviously moved leagues this season. What have you found the big fundamental differences has been between patterns of play and the physicality of this league?
I think the biggest difference, and this is no slight or disrespect to the Midland League, but all 20 teams in this division are competitive, very, very competitive. And there's the stock phrase, isn't there, about there being no easy games, and that's never been truer. I think the Midland League is a little bit more divided in the sense that you've probably got a top 6 or 8, then a middle couple, and then a bottom 5 or 6, who that will probably not change too often throughout the season. And ironically, something I picked up on in the bar at Mossley.
Oh yeah,
their chairman or compere or whoever it was that was doing the after match presentations, he said, we'd like to turn everyone's attention to their away day on Saturday against Hensford, where we continue our promotion push, and we can go 6 points from the playoffs with a game in hand.
Yeah.
And again, it not being disrespectful, I hadn't even looked at Mossley's situation. We'd done our background on them before the game. Yeah. And he's absolutely right. And it just shows that, Mossley sitting below halfway.
Yeah.
They've still got ambitions of you put a couple of results together and you can go and sneak into the playoffs. So it's just relentless.
No, I mean, that's really interesting, actually. Nobody had told me that. I mean, a bit ballsy as well. I think Swanee would have given me a giant-sized bollocking if I'd been talking like that on stage. But interesting and a positive take, I guess. I think that was my next point. So we're 1 point off 5th as we stand and 2 points off 4th. So it's such a tight league.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it is. It absolutely is, and being a little bit objective and realistic, we're also a few points from being, say, 10th. And that, like you say, it's so tight, and something that we're continually reminding the players. And look, Tuesday was a big frustration for all of us. The players especially. And we feel like there's opportunities presented to us where, even if we'd have taken a point at Mossley and you come away and say, that's a good point. And we were having a discussion between the management team last night, and even if, and you talk about the fine margins there of the table, even if we'd have turned, say, 3 defeats into draws, we'd be sitting 2 or 3 places there. Now every manager in the league will say that as well.
Yeah.
It's something we're really kind of drilling into the players now, is that with 11 games left, take Clitheroe. We're going to Clitheroe on Saturday, and our objective is to win the game of football. But if we can make sure we don't lose the game of football, that point could be crucial come the end of the season. And probably not changing the focus a little bit, but a little bit of a reset and a reminder that you're not going to win every single game of football. There'll be defeats along the way. Even in the next 11 games, we will quite probably lose at some point. But if we can, turn those difficult days into a point, then they can be really valuable.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing for me as well, obviously we've got great home support and we've got a lot of home games coming up. I think the exciting thing is, from the players' point of view, is they've got an opportunity to play their best football at the right time in the season. And that's the challenge. That's the gauntlet, right? And you as a management team can't do anything about that, right? You put them out there, you put them out in the best shape they can possibly be in, with the right tactically astute messages to get them through the game. But actually, for players, they've got an opportunity to play their best football at the right time, right?
Yeah, and look, we've been probably inconsistent or more inconsistent than we'd like over the course of the season. And you used the word opportunity again then, and that's probably the single biggest frustration we've had this season. However, without being perfect, where there's been performances that we would like to be better, where we are now, we'd still like things to improve, and this is the kind of the collective, the players buy into it as well. We're sitting in a fantastic position, without being probably at our best, or certainly at our consistent best. So you're absolutely right, and that's kind of the message that we've been reiterating from day one, really. We start the season with 38 games to go. You can only do them one at a time, and we work, to that basis. So the biggest game of the season is now Clitheroe away. And it doesn't matter about Leek on Tuesday, or I think it's Widnes the fight. It doesn't matter. All that matters is Saturday, and then, come 5 o'clock on Saturday, we'll see where we've, what points we've picked up or not. We take stock, we reassess, and then, we go into Tuesday. But yeah, it is exciting and it's motivating because, you touch on, we're on the back of a defeat on Tuesday. It's devastating at the time, but Wednesday it's kind of, like that motivation's back, ready for the next one, because the 11 remaining games, they matter. We're not sitting 15th with nothing to play for. These next games do really matter.
No, absolutely. I want to take it back a little bit to your role within the club and how long you've been around Chasetown, and we'll talk about you and Swanee in a little bit as well. How long have you been involved with the club itself, and how did that come about?
So I can't remember dates, but my affinity with the club started through just being a local lad. I live in Burntwood. I've lived locally all my life, so I've kind of followed the club, as an outsider looking in, really. But then my playing career, I was about 27, I think, and my playing career had kind of, I'd fallen out of love with football a little bit. And this will shock you, but I bumped into Swanee in the pub. And my chin was on the floor a little bit. I, sitting there sulking. And one of my close friends as well, Danny Rock, was playing for Chasetown Reserves. Swanee was involved coaching. Andy Cox was the manager at the time. And he just says, why don't you just come down here, and enjoy it again?
Yeah.
And so that's where I joined the football club as a player in the reserves.
Yeah.
And that is also where the relationship with Swanee came about.
Okay.
So yeah, that was about 13 or 14 years ago.
And you're still much better looking than it. You know what I mean? That never changes, does it?
I mean, he looks all right for 57, doesn't he?
He's all right. He's all right. So, moving that on and forward, what would you say your kind of working relationship is? Typically, you kind of get with assistants and managers, you get good cop, bad cop, right? I've got a feeling I know which one you are, but where would you position yourself in that dynamic?
I think that if you ask the players, I'm probably the chihuahua.
Yeah.
A little bit probably more yappy and animated, but Swanee can let them know as well.
Stick it to the man.
Needed, but I mean, you say the good cop, bad cop thing. One thing that Swanee and I have never ever done in all the years we've worked together is kind of script anything.
Yeah.
We don't discuss what one another are going to say in team talks. And there's times, if he speaks first, then he might say something I was going to say, and vice versa. But a lot of it is just kind of through emotion or knowledge of the game, identifying what's happening on the pitch, and then delivering it. And also, it's whilst the motivation, if you want to call it that, sometimes is needed to drive the players a little bit, to get them up if the performance is a little bit flat. It's important, and I'm big on this. So it's important that as much as they get the hard yards, they get the praise as well when they're good. And fortunately, we've had, first and foremost, a fairly settled bunch of players through our. What are we now? This will be our are we 3.5 years into our time at Chasetown, and the players have been stellar for us. The consistency levels over 3.5 years, and as I say, a lot of those players have been there throughout. So they do deserve a lot of praise for the way they've performed over that time.
No, I agree, and we've seen players come and players go, haven't we? And but we have had a consistent team. I mean, that's an absolutely fair shout. So, from a personal point of view, your lad plays for Chasetown, right? The unders.
So yeah, I've got two. So my eldest lad was playing for Chasetown Blues under 15s, well under 14s they were last year. Unfortunately, they left and they merged with Whittington, so he's currently at Whittington.
Okay.
However, both he and I are harbouring hopes that there might be a sway the other way in the summer to come back. But I've also got a 5-year-old who attends the soccer school. Which is brilliant on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the amount of traffic coming through the club now, Steve Jones, our chairman, showed me the plans for the Sundays.
Yeah,
and we must have about 200, 300 kids coming through the club on a Sunday alone. So it's incredible. If you could change one thing so far about the season, we've probably talked about it actually, and turning 0 points into a point or something. Would that be the fundamental thing that you would change? Would it be turning that odd loss into a point, or is it something deeper?
Yeah, I think that is it. I mean, on the whole, I think performance levels, haven't been bad. There's been games where we've played well and not necessarily got what we would deserve. But there's been other games, Trafford away sticks in my memory, that we were awful. We really weren't good on the day, but we won 2-1. So, football has a way of, working to no real pattern of what you deserve.
Yeah.
I think if there was one thing, Tuesday night's a great example at Mossley. Can we take a point there? City of Liverpool away, lost. Could we take a point there? And probably grind out a few points, perhaps the ugly way, rather than trying to go and chase a win and perhaps leave yourself exposed at times. I touched on it earlier, but perhaps we've got to get into the mindset that certainly away from home, a point isn't the end of the world.
Yeah. I always, towards the end of these conversations and calls, I always like to give a little bit of a rallying cry, right, to the chairman, an opportunity for you to get into his ear. If we had unlimited budget, what are the one or two things that you would ask for today that you think fundamentally would really give us a better chance of success on the field, and also make things easier for you as a management team? What are the two things that you'd ask for?
At the risk of being very corporate and cheesy, we are very lucky. We spend modestly. We have a modest budget. I'm not going to predict where we sit in the league table of what other teams spend, but what we are very clear on is kind of value for money. And there's some crazy figures flying around the non-league world, and whether people see it as the right approach or the wrong approach, and credit to Swanee because he ultimately manages that. But I can guarantee everybody that the money that our players do get is earned, every penny. There's no superstar picking up an obscene amount of money that trains once a week or doesn't turn up, or all the boys buy in. And by the way, I'm talking about 22, 24 players here. There's players who are there twice a week. There's certain players who travel with us, but they won't be in a match day squad. And actually that they don't pick up any money. So I'm not going to sit and say that we want more money off the chairman. The chairman and the directors have always been very, very supportive. And if there was something that Swanee and I or the management team wanted to do, or a player that we thought could improve us, that was the right deal, then I'm certain that Steve and the board would back us. And then kind of away from the budget side of things, again, we're fortunate with sponsors and things like that. So the lads don't go without anything, the training kits, the tracksuits, and all the things that make us feel, nice and professional. And I think that's important as well, because you're representing the football club, and it's important that we have the right image as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The last two things I want to talk about really is, I suppose, that taps into sustainability, right? It feels like everything that the new board have kind of set up is around that word, sustainability. It's around feeding the club with our own players. It's about feeding our club with the best people, both from a business perspective, but also a community perspective. Filling it with the best people that can aid us in our missions, really. So if we could give a rallying cry to the fans and really get them down the club for these last games that are absolutely crucial to us, give us a rally cry, Jamie. Give us a rally cry, son.
Again, sorry to be probably a little bit dour, but I think the fans have been fantastic. Attendances have been brilliant since we've moved home after playing at Bolmere. So the rallying cry really is keep coming, keep supporting the lads. I think there's 6 home games, out of the 11 that we have left. And really come and believe in us achieving something this season. There'll be lots and lots of teams, still pushing and trying to fight and sneak in the playoffs, even as I touched on, down to, the middle of the bottom half of the table. And it really does make a difference, The supporters are vocal, they back the lads. and it's brilliant. And that feeling you get of walking off and down the little tunnel area, and the kids are high-fiving the players, and it means
So a bit of madness.
bit of madness.
To a bit of madness.
Okay, yeah, one step beyond. But yeah, it really does mean a lot to the players and the staff. Because they win, lose or draw, we are an honest bunch, and the lads are an honest bunch, and the one thing that they will do is, they'll run through brick walls, and they will give their absolute everything. And I do feel our supporters are quite knowledgeable, and even in defeat, they do show their appreciation for the efforts. If perhaps our quality's not quite been there, but the lads have really given their all. There's a time when you can't really ask much more.
Yeah, and I'd reiterate that, Jamie, as we come to a close now. Thank you for all of your work and the management team, because I think they always put themselves out there after the game as well, and talk to the fans and make themselves available. But I think, just as a final point, it's a really exciting time of the season. We've got a really huge opportunity to get behind the boys, get behind you guys, and really do something special and play our best football when it matters. So it's really exciting. We're going to be with you on the journey. Thanks for your time today, Jamie. There is nothing wrong with size 7 feet. Fact.
Absolutely not.
All right, we'll see you again. Thanks for joining us on Scholar Spotlight. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.